Hi, this is an experiment. I'm going to go through a couple of minutes of a very simple graphical presentation in order to find out how it's going to play, because I intend to use this later on for a course next semester, an online course. So I would like to be able to present around 10 to 12, 13 minute, 10 to 12, 30 minute presentations that utilize quite a lot of graphs. And so my intention right now is to try and show or to determine whether the graphs will show properly once they are played back. So just in order for me to try this, let me assume that I'm going to show something about the effect of a tax, or let's make it a duty. So let's find out what will happen if there is a supply and demand of a particular good. Then this would be obviously the equilibrating price. So right now this is an autarky. So since it's an autarky, there is really no such thing as international trade. Let's assume, for the sake of the argument, that the world price, instead of being up here, P sub O, let's assume that the world price is at P sub W. What this means is that as soon as this particular country is going to stop being a closed economy, then all of a sudden, all of this will have to be imported. So these will be the imports. And the domestic manufacturer producers, instead of producing this quantity Q sub O, they're going to be right now producing only Q sub 1. As a result, they're going to try and lobby the politicians in order to impose some sort of a duty, because a duty will make the good a little bit more expensive, and so they'll be able to produce more. So let's find out what will happen. Let's assume that they've agreed to impose such a tariff, such a duty. So this will be, let's call it a tax. So this is the import tax, the import duty. In this case, what's going to happen, therefore, is that this is going to become the quantity that's going to be supplied domestically, Q sub 2, and so they would have gained this. And the consumers right now are going to be consuming this particular quantity over here. Also, let's assume Q sub 2, while over here it was Q sub 1. So what has been the overall net result of this particular tax? Well, initially, as you can see, we're going to right now apply just a little bit of the consumer surplus theory. So the consumers would have had all of this area as a surplus, but after the tax, this will become the area. So the consumers would have lost all of this area. But what about the suppliers? Well, the suppliers would have gained this area, so this is going to cancel out. The double-hatched area, therefore, is lost to one group, but gained by the other. So we're not going to worry about the issue of income distribution, therefore it's going to be the same. But what about the government? Well, the government right now is going to be collecting this area in taxes. And so again, this is lost by the consumers, but it's gained by the government. We assume that we have an enlightened government, so the government is going to go ahead and spend all that money back in society, and therefore everybody will gain from it. Therefore, society at large would not have lost anything. However, and that's the important thing about duties, is that we would have lost this triangle and this triangle. Now, these two welfare triangles have been lost forever. Nobody gains them. And so that is usually the argument. Why is it that taxes, that duties are not any good? Okay? Thank you. So let's find